Josh Rubin from East West Healing Performance. Today, we have a shout out. We have a shout out to good old dad Vaughn Pillow out there in Atlanta. And we're going to talk about hypertension. We're going to talk about the many causes of hypertension. We're going to talk about dehydration, and then I'm going to move on to some other stuff. But let's go over the many reasons why one might get hypertension. Now, most doctors, I've done many YouTube clips on this before, most doctors will give you the medication because you have high blood pressure. Well, the question we need to start asking ourselves is, number one, there's a lot of research to show that that actually doesn't work, because when you go off it, you have high blood pressure again. And at the same time, it causes many other deficiencies in the body. So you've got to ask yourself, is this really working? We have to figure out why the person in front of us actually has hypertension. Now, I'm going to give you some of the causes. It's all individualized. Sometimes it's a magnesium deficiency. Sometimes it's a taurine deficiency. Sometimes it's a fatty acid deficiency, a bacterial infection from like strep A or H. pylori, or even STDs like chlamydia. It can be from viral infections such as Coxsackie virus, or cytomegalovirus, or herpes 1, 2, and 6. It can be from cadmium or heavy metal exposure, from mercury in the teeth, cadmium from cigarette smoke and things like that. It can be detoxification overload from the liver, the kidneys, the lung, the colon, the skin, from just all the toxins in our environment. It could be from kidney deficiency or dysfunction within that entire system, or just an antioxidant deficiency. So you can see there's many reasons why one might have high blood pressure. So you really need to figure out why, and that's the most important thing. You can't walk into anyone and think you can take a supplement or an herb and you're actually going to have your blood pressure lowered. There's so many nutrition and lifestyle things that need to be done, maybe labs, to figure out why. Now, I can tell you one of the main reasons I'm going to put in here why I see a lot of people are getting hypertension. And I'm not saying this is the very reason, but this is one of the pieces that fits the puzzle to most people's dysfunction, let's say, or of dysfunction of hypertension. Is they're chronically dehydrated. Now, this could be because they're not drinking enough water. This could be because maybe they're not absorbing their water. This could be because they have an electrolyte deficiency, a mineral deficiency, or they're drinking so many crappy energy drinks or so much coffee that the ratio of dehydrating agents to hydration agents is like this. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to be dehydrated. At the same time, most of our foods have high amounts of sodium in them, preservatives and things like this. This actually dehydrates the body. So what happens is it actually causes blood volume in the body to become low. When this happens, it actually signals the body to secrete renin, or the kidneys more specifically. So when the kidneys secrete renin, this actually stimulates the production of what's called angiotensin. Now, I'm using big words. I love to use big words, so just follow along and you'll see the end result. So we're dehydrated, blood volume gets low, kidneys secrete renin, which signals the production of angiotensin. Well, angiotensin actually causes the blood vessels to constrict in the body, causes vasoconstriction. When this happens, that actually increases blood pressure. Vasoconstriction increases blood pressure. Now, at the same time, the angiotensin actually stimulates the secretion of other hormones in the body, more specifically aldosterone. Aldosterone is actually released by the adrenal glands, or more specifically, the adrenal cortex of the adrenal glands. Well, aldosterone actually causes certain parts of the kidneys, called the tubules, to increase their reabsorption rate. What happens is they increase their reabsorption of sodium in water into the blood. This increases a volume of fluid in the body per se, which also increases blood pressure. So you have this cascade of effects in the body from the renin to the angiotensin, which causes vasoconstriction, which causes the release of aldosterone, which affects the kidneys, which causes the reabsorption of sodium, which causes high blood pressure. So you can see, Vaughn, that there's many reasons why one has blood pressure. And the question is, most people say, well, I don't want to do Celtic sea salt, because a lot of people out there are afraid of Celtic sea salt. Well, I can tell you that water and Celtic sea salt, it's got to be gray, are actually natural antihistamines to the body. So the more water we drink, you actually reduce the amount of histamine in the body. At the same time, the more Celtic sea salt you put in your diet, the more you hydrate yourself and get rid of the dehydrating agents. The Celtic sea salt doesn't decrease blood volume. It doesn't actually cause the body to release renin, angiotensin, or aldosterone. It actually helps to regulate those pathways. So one of the best ways to help people reduce their hypertension, put aside the nutritional things and all the other deficiencies I mentioned, one of the biggest pieces to their puzzle is adding in enough water and Celtic sea salt so they can absorb it and downregulate those pathways so they don't cause reabsorption of sodium and they don't become dehydrated and cause that cascade of effects, which is vasoconstriction and high blood pressure. So, on to the next one, Vaughn. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is asthma. There's so many people suffering from asthma. I'd say one in every, I don't know, a lot of people we work with have asthma, and they're showing that 5 to 10% of the population are actually suffering from asthma. Now, there's different types of asthma. We have extrinsic, we have intrinsic asthma. Look at my notes here. Extrinsic is asthma that is related to known allergens, that are more immunological related. Like you have an allergy to dust and things like that. Then you have intrinsic asthma, which is asthma that is perpetuated by emotional issues, cold, chemicals in the environment, or maybe exercise-induced asthma. So there's 2 types of asthma. That's the first thing to understand. Now, put all the other things aside. I'm really here to educate you about asthma, not why you have asthma per se. And there's always individual reasons. It could be, allergies to food intolerances. It could be emotional issue triggers. It could be the dust in the office. It could be, milk, eggs, soy, corn, over-the-counter medications, on and on. It could be many different things. But the key is to figure out why you have it. The interesting thing about asthma is there's many things that can actually facilitate it. So let's say you have inflammation in the liver, maybe inflammation in the heart, inflammation in the large intestine. All these organs are actually attached to the diaphragm, so they can actually affect how you breathe and cause inflammation in the diaphragm and affect asthma. At the same time, if you have structural problems, like if you have a kyphosis and you're really slunched over like this, well, you have upper lobes and lower lobes of your lung. When you're in this position, you actually breathe more through the lower lungs and not the upper lungs. So you decrease your lung capacity, which can give you the false indication that you have asthma. You're just not breathing in enough. You're not extending enough to pull in and fill the upper lungs. Other things that can actually cause asthma is inflammation. Anytime you have inflammation in the body, or any type of pathogen, or any type of virus, on and on and on, the immune system gets alerted. And what happens is, there's certain things in the immune system, such as basophils. They actually release histamine and prostaglandins and leukotrienes and cytokines and all these big words that I love. But at the same time, the lungs actually have what are called H1 and H2 receptors on them. The H1 receptors actually cause vasoconstriction. The H2 receptors actually cause vasorelaxation. Well, the interesting thing, I have to look at my notes here, is that the bottom part of the lungs are actually more populated by the H1 receptors, which are vasoconstrictors. So if you have a hunched over posture, you're not breathing properly because you have a kyphosis in your back, or rounded shoulders, poor posture, you're dehydrated, you're releasing histamine, or you have a pathogen releasing histamine, you're already breathing from the bottom 1/3 of your lungs, well, you actually stimulate more of those receptors because you have too much histamine production, which causes vasoconstriction, which can cause the false signs of asthma. Or I guess I should say you're getting asthma, but it's giving you the false signs because you really don't have it. You created it. There's ways to unwind it. At the same time, as the body actually heals, the histamine actually starts to move its way out through the body because you've downregulated the immune system. It starts to shut off. The problem with that is leukotrienes actually keep being produced. Leukotrienes are actually 1,000 times more vasoconstrictive than histamine is. So what happens is, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 hours after having a food you're intolerant to, or exercising, or whatever it is, the leukotrienes actually continue the inflammatory process. They cause the mucus buildup in the throat, and they can easily cause more vasoconstriction, not only in the lungs, but other parts of the body. So what do? Well, of course, you want to fix your posture, figure out what foods you're intolerant to, hydrate yourself, and water and salt are natural antihistamines. And Celtic sea salt is actually a mucus raker in the body, so it's great for people that have overproduction of histamine. What do you take when you get sick? Most people take antihistamines for a runny nose because they want to downregulate the immune system. You should drink plenty of water with a lot of Celtic sea salt. A lot of people, I'll just have them take a big pinch, put it on their tongue, and just swallow the salt, the Celtic sea salt. It's a natural antihistamine. On to the next thing.